40 times the pressure of the world above is waiting to crush his chest. The ice shelf of Antarctica terminates in a sheer vertical cliff of ancient blue ice. Below, the Southern Ocean churns in the polar twilight, a dark abyss that represents one of the most hostile environments on the planet. For a warm-blooded creature, entering this realm is a gamble against time and physics. Yet, a single bird stands at the edge of the frozen shelf, looking down into the black water. He does not hesitate. With a sudden, powerful push, he plunges headfirst into the freezing sea, vanishing beneath the surface. This is the home of the emperor penguin. To survive in these waters, this bird must solve physical puzzles that would kill a human in seconds. The deep ocean is a place of immense, bone-crushing forces. As the penguin descends, the water presses against his body with relentless power. A human diver would face the agonizing pain of barotrauma as the air inside their body compressed. But the penguin has evolved a radical anatomical solution to this mechanical puzzle. His bones are not hollow like those of flying birds. Instead, his skeleton is solid. These dense, solid bones eliminate the risk of internal air pockets collapsing under pressure. They act as natural ballast, allowing him to sink effortlessly into the depths without fighting the natural buoyancy of his own body. He can dive to a recorded depth of up to 535 meters near McMurdo Sound. At this depth, the darkness is absolute and the pressure is immense. Yet, his body remains undamaged, functioning with quiet, mechanical precision. But pressure is only the first part of the puzzle. Also, the deeper he goes, the scarcer his oxygen becomes. To survive these long, deep descents, his internal chemistry must change. As he moves deeper into the cold dark, his heart rate begins to drop. On the surface, his heart beats with steady, rapid energy to keep him warm. But beneath the ice, his heart rate is drastically reduced to a mere 15 to 20 beats per minute. This is a profound physiological slowdown. By lowering his heart rate, he minimizes his oxygen consumption. His circulatory system undergoes a dramatic shift, shutting down blood flow to non-essential muscles and organs. His blood is funneled almost exclusively to his brain and his heart, the critical centers that must remain active. The rest of his body enters a state of controlled suspension, functioning on the absolute minimum amount of energy. He becomes a living machine designed to harvest the resources of the deep ocean on a single breath of air. While he hunts in the dark, his body must also fight a constant war against the freezing water. The ocean temperature sits at a bone, chilling minus 1.8 degrees Celsius. This is a temperature that would drain the heat from a human body in minutes, leading to rapid hypothermia and cardiac arrest. Yet, the average body temperature of the penguin remains at approximately 39 degrees Celsius. To maintain this massive thermal gradient, he relies on a sophisticated thermal shield. This shield starts beneath his skin. Before the breeding season begins, he builds up a thick, insulating layer of subdermal fat. This fat layer can reach a thickness of up to 3 centimeters, wrapping his internal organs in a heavy blanket of lipid insulation. This layer of blubber is his primary defense against the cold, preventing his body heat from radiating outward into the freezing water. It is a thick, protective wall that keeps his core warm even when his outer skin is cold to the touch. Over this fat layer lies his feather coat, which is a marvel of biological engineering. His contour feathers are incredibly dense, packing approximately 9 feathers per square centimeter of his body. These feathers are short, stiff, and lance-shaped, overlapping like shingles on a high-tech roof to create a windproof and waterproof barrier. Each feather is controlled by a tiny muscle that can pull it tight against his body, sealing out the water and trapping a microlayer of warm air against his skin. This trapped air is warmed by his body heat, creating a thin, insulating envelope that acts as a dry suit. When he dives, the water never actually touches his skin, it glides off the slick, oily surface of his feathers. He remains dry and insulated even in the deepest, coldest currents. This complex combination of solid bones, a slow heart, and dense feathers is the physical genius that allows him to master the ocean. But the physical trials of the deep are only a prelude to the social and climatic puzzles he must solve on the ice. 40 million years of survival are written into the bones of a single lineage. To understand the genius of the emperor penguin, we must look far beyond the modern ice sheets. We must look into the deep past, across geological ages that shaped the southern continent. Genetic evidence reveals a profound basal split that occurred roughly 40 million years ago. This split separated the genus Aptenodytes, the great penguins, from all other living penguin species. It was a time of immense global change, as the continental plates drifted and Antarctica began its long transition into a frozen wilderness. Its ancient legacy is etched into the fossil record. In the late Pliocene epoch, an extinct relative known as Ridgeon's penguin, or Aptenodytes ridgeni, lived in the coastal waters of what is now New Zealand. The fossils of Ridgeon's penguin show a bird that was already highly adapted to a marine lifestyle, bridging the gap between ancient flyers and modern divers. The first confirmed fossil appearance of the modern emperor penguin species dates to the Pleistocene epoch, approximately 0.01 million years ago. This means the species has survived massive climatic shifts, adapting to the rise and fall of ice ages over thousands of generations. Their survival is not a fluke, it is a highly evolved, deeply tested strategy. Today, this strategy is put to the test every single year as the Antarctic winter begins. As the day length decreases and the sun begins its long descent below the horizon, a silent biological trigger initiates one of the most grueling land migrations on Earth. Thousands of birds gather at the edge of the open ocean. They must leave the water behind and begin an epic march inward, traveling across the shifting, unstable sea ice. This trek is not a casual walk. It is a journey of 50 to 120 kilometers across a featureless desert of ice. They walk in single file, their heavy bodies swaying from side to side to conserve energy. When the walking becomes too exhausting, they slide on their bellies, using their strong flippers to push themselves over the slick surface. The destination of this march is the breeding colony, located on stable pack ice that is sheltered from the violent polar winds. Finding these remote colonies in a vast, shifting white desert is a monumental puzzle. For years, the locations of many colonies remained a mystery to the human world. Today, researchers scan high-resolution satellite imagery from orbit, searching for clues. They do not look for the birds themselves, which are too small to see from space. Instead, they look for enormous, reddish-brown stains of guano left on the pristine white ice sheet. These guano stains are so large and dark that they can be easily spotted from orbit, acting as biological beacons that mark the locations of the colonies. Once the birds arrive at these remote sanctuaries, the real challenge begins. The colony is a place of noise and motion, with thousands of identical-looking birds crowded together on the ice. In this chaotic, freezing city, finding a mate is a complex vocal puzzle that must be solved quickly. Emperor penguins do not mate for life. They practice serial monogamy, with only an estimated 15% chance of returning to the same partner from the previous year. Each season, they must choose a new mate and form a bond that will endure the hardships of the winter. To find each other in the crowd, they rely on a unique vocal system. They do not have the simple, single-frequency calls of other birds. Instead, they produce complex, double-frequency vocalizations. Their specialized vocal tract allows them to sing with two independent frequency bands at the same time. This creates a highly distinct acoustic signature, a personal barcode of sound that can pierce through the howling winds of the Antarctic blizzard. When a pair finds each other, they stand close, bowing and calling in unison, their voices blending into a unique duet. This vocal bond is the foundation of their cooperation, a partnership that will be tested by the most brutal winter on Earth. A single misstep, and the future freezes solid unless... The nesting season is a high-stakes gamble where the margin for error is non-existent. Shortly after mating, the female produces a single egg. This egg is one of the smallest relative to maternal weight of any bird species, representing just over 2% of her total body mass. Despite its small size, this egg is incredibly vulnerable. The handoff of the egg from the female to the male is a moment of extreme tension, requiring absolute coordination between the two partners. The transfer must take place on the bare ice, in temperatures that can plummet to 40 below zero. The female carefully coaxes the egg out of her warm brood patch, holding it on her feet. The male stands close, his own brood patch open and waiting. He must slide his feet under the egg and lift it into his warm pouch. If the egg slips and rolls onto the ice, the consequences are immediate. The cold is so intense that the egg will freeze, and the embryo will die in just 1 to 2 minutes. Once the handoff is successfully completed, the female's job is done for now. She is exhausted, having spent a large portion of her energy reserves to produce the egg. She must turn and begin the long, cold walk back to the open ocean to feed and rebuild her strength. The male is left behind to face the dark winter alone. He is the sole guardian of the egg, embarking on a lonely, winter-long incubation that will test the absolute limits of his endurance. For approximately 120 days, the male penguin stands fast on the ice. He does not leave his post, enduring a total fast through the darkest and coldest months of the year. He cannot hunt, he cannot eat. To survive, his body must undergo a radical metabolic transformation. He relies on a process called glucagon-induced lipolysis, a hormonal trigger that systematically breaks down his extensive fat reserves to fuel his basic metabolic needs. This fasting period takes a monumental toll on his physical body. When he first arrived at the breeding grounds, he was a plump, healthy bird weighing around 38 kilograms. By the time the egg is ready to hatch, his body mass has dropped to a mere 18 kilograms. He has lost nearly half of his total body weight, his fat reserves depleted to the absolute minimum. He is thin, weak, and shivering, yet he continues to hold the egg warm against his skin, protecting it from the freezing winds. To survive the blizzards, the males must cooperate. They form tight, dense huddles, packing their bodies together to share warmth. These huddles are dynamic, with birds on the cold outer edge slowly working their way into the warm center, while the warm birds in the middle move outward to take their turn shielding the group. Inside the huddle, the temperature can reach a comfortable level, protecting the eggs and conserving the male's precious energy. Finally, the egg cracks, and a tiny, semi-altricial chick hatches into the freezing darkness. The chick is highly vulnerable, born with only a thin layer of down feathers and no ability to regulate its own body temperature. It must remain tucked inside the father's warm brood patch to survive, but the mother has not yet returned from the sea, and the chick is hungry. The father, despite having fasted for 4 months, must perform one final physiological miracle to keep his offspring alive. He secretes a rich, nutrient-dense crop milk from his esophagus. This milk is a thick, curd-like substance composed of approximately 59% protein and 28% lipid. It is a highly concentrated formula designed to jumpstart the chick's growth. The father can sustain the chick with this secretion for a brief window of 3 to 7 days. It is a desperate, final effort to keep the chick alive until the mother returns, her belly full of fish, to take over the duty of care. To survive the ice, the bird must become a shadow swimming beneath it. The return of the mothers marks a shift in the colony, bringing a temporary relief to the starving fathers. The males can finally hand over the chicks and make their own long trek back to the ocean to feed. For the next several months, both parents will take turns traveling between the sea and the colony, bringing back food for their growing offspring. The ocean is their kitchen, and the hunting grounds beneath the ice are a dynamic, structured ecosystem. In this underwater world, the emperor penguin is a predator of remarkable speed and agility. He swims through the dark water at average speeds of 6 to 9 kilometers per hour, his strong flippers driving him forward with incredible force. His hunting strategy is highly specialized, taking advantage of the unique structure of the Antarctic sea ice. He does not search for prey in the wide open water. Instead, he dives down to depths of roughly 50 meters. Once he reaches this depth, he turns and looks upward toward the translucent ceiling of the ice. The ice sheet allows a faint, green-blue light to filter through, illuminating the water from above. Against this glowing backdrop, the small creatures of the sea are clearly silhouetted. His primary prey is the Antarctic silverfish, known scientifically as Plurigramma antarcticum. These small, silver-scaled fish gather in large schools beneath the ice, feeding on microscopic algae. By swimming beneath the schools and looking up, the penguin can easily spot the silverfish against the light. He strikes with rapid, precise movements, snapping up the fish in quick succession before returning to the surface for a breath of air. This highly efficient under-ice hunting strategy is critical for gathering the massive amounts of food required to feed the growing chicks back at the colony. As the chicks grow older, reaching approximately 45 to 50 days of age, they can no longer fit inside their parents' warm brood patches. They are too large, and their demands for food are too high to allow both parents to hunt at the same time. The chicks gather into dense groups called Creches. These Creches are communal nurseries, with hundreds of chicks huddling together for warmth and protection against the wind and predators. However, The colony is not a peaceful sanctuary. It is a place of intense social tension and conflict. Childless females, those who have lost their own eggs or chicks during the winter, suffer from powerful hormonal nesting drives. These females frequently attempt to forcefully adopt or kidnap stray chicks from the creches. This triggers violent, chaotic scuffles as multiple adults crowd around a single, terrified chick, each trying to claim it as their own. These kidnapping attempts often end in tragedy. In the frantic struggles, chicks are frequently smothered under the heavy bodies of the adults or trampled to death on the hard ice. It is a harsh, unforgiving social environment where only the strongest and most vigilant survive. But a much larger, global puzzle is beginning to threaten the future of the entire species. The stable coastal pack ice that they rely on for breeding is beginning to change. Recent population data gathered via satellite imagery reveals a worrying trend. Between the years 2009 and 2018, the emperor penguin population declined by approximately 10%. This loss is a direct result of early ice melts, which can cause the breeding platforms to break apart before the chicks have grown their waterproof feathers. If the ice melts too early, the young chicks are swept into the freezing water where they cannot survive. The scientific community has recognized this growing threat. In April 2026, the International Union for Conservation of Nature officially updated the species status, listing the emperor penguin as endangered. Predictive models paint a sobering picture of the future. These models project a high probability, estimated at 45%, of a severe population collapse by the year 2073, meaning a decline of greater than 50% of the total population. The puzzle of the emperor penguin is no longer just about how they survive the cold, but whether they can survive a warming world. They have spent 40 million years refining their biology to conquer the most extreme environment on Earth, developing solid bones, dual-frequency voices, and a heart that can slow to a crawl. They are a triumph of evolutionary genius, a testament to the power of adaptation. But as the ice beneath their feet continues to shift, the ultimate puzzle of their survival remains to be solved.